Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our guest today is the Executive Director of Grow Haze. Doug, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
That would be Doug Williams. You heard him earlier today when we were doing a ribbon cutting and a groundbreaking. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But Doug, before we go to that part of things, I want to talk a little bit about Grow Haze, because when we first heard this name a few years ago, it was like, okay, what's this group going to do? It's a new group in town. It's a little bit different. The Grow Haze makes sense. You want to grow flowers, you want to grow all those things, but growing haze in a community is different. But yet today you see Grow Haze wrapped around so many things. Through good times, bad times, and challenging times, Grow Haze is there. Tell me about the start with Grow Haze and kind of what surrounded all of that.
Well, sure. Of course, Grow Haze evolved out of the Ellis County Coalition for Economic Development, which is an organization formed in the 1980s. And in 2018, we kind of rebranded and restructured the organization. And that's when I came on to the board of directors. And subsequently, we made a change in the executive director position. I kind of stepped in on an interim basis and have been here ever since, although it's not interim anymore. But we are the economic development organization for Ellis County. And so our job is to try and promote economic growth in Ellis County. And we do that in a lot of different ways. The traditional economic development was always to go out and recruit a company that had smokestacks and employed a lot of people and that kind of thing. But that's changed a little bit. And so economic development organizations like ours now wear a lot of different hats, including housing and quality of life things like we kicked off today. A community center traditionally would not be a economic development activity, but the world has changed and quality of life is important. So we do a lot of different things now.
Well, you cover a lot of things. You're right, guys. You have the new micro factory that just really got buttoned up several months ago, and that's going to be in the process of providing opportunity. And yet on the thing we're talking about this morning, with another growing part of things, was the groundbreaking for the new community centers named after Bob and Pat Schmidt. Of course, the foundation is excited about that part of things, but it's the Bob and Pat Schmidt Community Center. And that takes care of both kids, seniors, and everybody in between. And so you guys are a part of growing that whole side of things. And that's what kind of really makes it exciting.
Definitely does. You're right. It is a community center that will have childcare in it. It will house the Haze Senior Center, and then it'll have a number of community gathering rooms that can just be used for the community at large. And we're very excited about the intergenerational aspect of that facility. When you can mix seniors with children, it can be a pretty special thing. And then the community rooms that can be used for gatherings and events and that type of thing will be just terrific. And it all couples in with the Grove housing development that will be going up all around that center. So it was an exciting day, and it's going to be just a terrific facility for the community.
When you were out there this morning, I know we had our shovels. And by the way, I think I dug more dirt than you did. I was ahead of you.
I'm not sure of that. I think we need a third party ruling on that one.
There's some photos. We'll go back and take a look. But this is the middle of a field now that has not been used. It's in a great location right next to the Center for Health Improvement, right next to the hospital. There'll be interlinking walkways that connect through there. It's just almost in a perfect place, but it's in the middle of a field. And when you take a look at, when you take growing haze, where do you take these areas and find something that is very useful? And I think this is going to be one of them. The whole plan idea started how long ago, Doug?
Been about 4 or 5 years ago that this concept came up. Actually, even longer ago than that, because you'll remember Harry Watts years ago. Harry approached me about we need to do something for a senior center, and so that was always in our mind. And then we ran into child care issues within the community, insufficient child care, and we started doing a little research across the country with facilities who are doing intergenerational things. We knew we needed more appropriate housing for retirees. And so we just kind of melded all these ideas into one development. And as you noted, I just don't think you could come up with a better location than the area north of Hayes Medical Center. And thank goodness they were willing, they owned the land and they were willing to work with us on a donation of the land for the community center and a very attractive purchase arrangement for the balance of the land for the housing. And the rest is kind of history. We're finally getting to that point where all of these plans and concepts are coming to fruition, and that's exciting.
One of the things that I know you see in other parts, whether it be the new high school and school systems going out, all the way back to the Bickle-Schmidt Sports Complex. You know, that was a field at one point, and now you see literally hundreds of cars and not thousands of people every weekend out there using those facilities that were literally dirt fields before. Being able to take the concept and turn it into a way to attract and grow and make Hayes a better community. It takes a group of people to do that. And you mentioned the hospital donating land, but there's also a whole group of other people that were involved. Talk about the funding aspect of how this is funded. I know the foundation is playing a big role in that, but there are others out there doing the same thing as well.
Yes, we have a variety of funders in this project. The state of Kansas, through their Kansas Child Care Accelerator Grant Fund, provided $3.6 million. Obviously, the Schmidt Foundation, as you noted, provided a gift to go towards it. The Hanson Foundation was a contributor. The hospital with the land, and just a number of different sources. The city of Hayes is contributing $1 million towards the project. Ellis County is contributing about $250,000 towards the project. So lots and lots of people contributing this. And that's really the only way these things get done in the environment we're in, is it takes a lot of people to make something like this happen. And we've been really fortunate in this community to have people, you know, foundations like the Hanson Foundation and people like Bob and Pat Schmidt who have left this legacy, and it continues to help make our community a better place to live.
You sit in the chair every day trying to find opportunities and then those opportunities and how to fund them. How hard is it to pull these groups together and turn it into what you see as a vision 4 or 5 years ago into something that may be a reality if timing goes right, construction goes right, all those things by next August or September?
It's challenging. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts. You have to get cooperation from a lot of different people. But that's part of the beauty of this community, is there are people that are willing to invest, willing to give, and towards worthy projects. And we've had great success with our micro factory, with Brief Space, with this project at gathering these people together for a common cause. I think we're kind of our organization is kind of the focal point. There needs to be somebody who can drive the project, and more importantly, execute on the construction and the implementation. But it's no small feat. But we welcome the opportunity, and we have such good people in our community to help us do it. It just works out really well.
How'd you come up with the name The Grove? Because there's a community center which sits in front of the Grove. How did that concept come together?
Well, we work with a local marketing guru, Scott Gross, and Scott works for the university. He's done a lot of marketing work over the years with a number of different firms. And when we're looking for a name, we get with Scott and we say, come up with some names for us. And he came up with that just because surrounding that property, there's so many trees. And so he came up with a number of different things. And but the Grove is one that was short and kind of direct, and we liked the sound of it. And so he came up with this logo, The Grove, Your Place to Be. And we really liked that. And that's how we came up with it.
Well, if you look at and sometimes people can go, I think, on your website and have a look, but how many homes will be in there? How many people will be in the Grove or be able to live in that area there?
The plan right now is for 58 patio homes, which are single family slab on grade homes, 8 duplexes, so that's another 16 homes, and then 36 apartments on the corner. Those will be multi-story, 3-story tall apartment structures. So about 104 to 108 total units within the development. The houses and the duplexes are going to be retiree focused, not retiree restricted, but they're going to be constructed to be appealing to retirees with no steps, 0 entry in the house, and floor plans that would appeal more to retirees. But that doesn't rule out other people from living there. It's just not going to be our focus. So we're looking at about 104 to 108 different units, and that mix of 58 homes and 8 duplexes and then some sixplexes.
And as it goes, people will move from maybe existing homes into those. It opens up the existing homes for other people who are wanting jobs to be able to do that. So it just creates a flow of those opportunities for housing up and down the housing food chain, for lack of a better term. So that's exciting to see that part of it and working together. Doug, I want to take a break. I want to come back and talk about the very first time you remember a community building, a community get together. And I'll talk about my experience as well. And then we'll finish up and share some notes on maybe a more specific timeline on what you're working with. Will that work?
That works.
Our guest, Doug Williams, who is head of Grow Haze. Back with more after this.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times. Not that there's ever not a challenging time, but it seems like it can always be when you're trying to grow a community in Western Kansas. And Doug Williams is the executive director of Grow Haze. He's been our guest. We've been talking about the new Bob and Pat Community Center Bob and Pat Schmidt Community Center that's going to be built. Groundbreaking took place on Thursday. That was today when we're doing the interview, but this past Thursday, for you that are listening or watching this, it's going to be a tight timeline. Doug, what's the quick timeline for getting the community center up and running?
Well, we hope to start construction in August. So, and we anticipate about an 11
That's like
month.
2 weeks. That
is 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
But August is 30 days long. So we've got about 45 days to get that going. So our goal is to start in August, and we anticipate about an 11 to 12 month build out. So sometime about this time next year, we would like to think that we're going to be having a ribbon cutting and grand opening for that facility.
Well, that'll be fun. It'll be and it's a great location. That's going to change the whole scope of that corner at the edge of 27th and Canterbury. And it'll be a whole new look for that when this is finished. Excited to see that. But Doug, one of the things that I know when the other trustees of the foundation, that'd be Joe Jeter and Randy Walker and Kurt David, myself, we're looking at this. It's like Bob and Pat were such believers in community. They were believers in working together with somebody else. And Bob and others like Don Bickle and some of those others got together many times to help get projects going. And so being a part of the foundation, it's exciting to see this project going as well. But it all is built around community. In this building, there'll be older people, there'll be seniors, there'll be kids running around. And it's going to be a super place for the community to meet. I was thinking back in my timeline as that, and you and I talked going into the break of what is your timeline, or what is your first memory of a community building, a community event here in Hays? Because you and I go about the same distance back.
Which is a long ways.
It's a long ways.
As a kid, I remember, and I grew up in Hays, so I remember the community things being like the annual sidewalk bazaar where people would gather, or the swimming pool down at where the aquatic park is now, or the baseball fields, in the summertime, or those kind of things. the theaters and things. Obviously churches and those kind of things are gathering areas too. But the things I remember most are those places where large groups of people would come and meet. You'd meet your friends or families would come and spend the day doing whatever, whether it was the park or what have you. And so there were a number of places. I don't recall any place specifically, or not nearly as specific as what you were referring to, what you had in your childhood.
Well, I lived out in the middle of nowhere. So, we were between Clay Center and Abilene in a little town called Ladysmith. And Ladysmith had a little community center. And it was built for that purpose because people would bring, at that point in time, I found out, my dad, 5 years old, would go to that building with some of our relatives that grew up in that same area. And they would go to that community building in their old cars, maybe Model A's, et cetera. And they'd get together and have that same sort of thing. It wasn't a sidewalk bazaar, but it was that chance to share stories, either before harvest, after harvest, holiday parties, those sort of things. And it became the community center of those little rural areas. And the key is being able to get together. Today is so much different, as you know. And so being able to have the foundation with Bob and Pat's name on it just as perfect sense. Marianne and I are doing some things personally as well inside with some of that, just because we believe in the same support. And I think there may be some others out there that would like to support this project as well because of the community aspect of it. Not that it's another building in town, but it's because of the community aspect that makes it so important.
Definitely. We really feel like it's going to be a special place and something will build a greater sense of community within our community. And as you noted, you're mixing children with seniors and the public at large for other things. And, our hope is it is a extremely utilized facility with things going on every day and activities going on all the time, that people feel comfortable going there and sharing experiences and commiserating about the past, like you and I do, about not quite the 1930s, but we go back a ways. But
it seems like it, doesn't it?
It does. But we're excited about that aspect of it, Gary, because I really think it's going to be that kind of a facility where the community can be proud of it and it can be utilized by so many.
Doug, you have a team down there. Tell me about your Grow Haze team, because while you and I can talk about all the great things going on, you have a group of people that I don't say really get the work done, but they're back there working on the nuts and bolts of making this happen. The Grow Haze group, how do the people interact with them? Is it a website? Do they just drop by? Talk a little bit about your team down there.
Yeah, we've got a great team. A couple of years ago, the city and the county, we approached them about making an additional investment in Grow Haze that would allow us to hire a couple people. And initially, we were able to hire David Klingon, who's our director of recruitment and business retainment, and James Robin, who's our director of business creation and special projects. And it's just been a game changer. They're both great guys. And, you mentioned the micro factory earlier. Because of David, we have the micro factory. That was a $4.5 million project. James has been the driving force in this community center, which is a $6 million project. Ernie in the background, she's always keeping things under control and handling our marketing events and things. And so we're just very fortunate to have a great team, and the results have just been amazing, which never could have been accomplished with just me, I assure you.
Well, you can go down to Brief Space. You guys have a great spot down at Brief Space, but you're also available online if people want to go take a look at what you're doing at Grow Haze, correct?
Absolutely. growhaze.com. Go there. It gives you an update. It's our contact information as well as what we've got going on, projects and things. We do have a Facebook page as well, or you can stop by and say hello at Brief Space. Any of the above, give us a call. We've been asking for people to sign up on our waiting list for the Grove Housing Project. And so we'd love to interact with people in any way they want to. So email us, come by, text us, whatever works.
Doug, thanks for taking the time. I know we broke ground this morning on a project. There's a lot to do to go to the next step, which actually when the real groundbreaking, the way we were digging, it would have been like 400 years to get done. We weren't digging very fast on the groundbreaking this morning. So somebody has to get that work done. You get back to work, make great things happen, and appreciate you being on our program.
I appreciate you having me, Gary.
Hey, it's Doug Williams, who is the executive director of Grow Hays. He's our guest today on Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. The program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.